boyfriend won't stop jerking off. Update, edit. I'm very aware our relationship is pretty much shit lol. That's another story, as to us even being together for much longer. I just wanted to confirm my feelings were valid in this situation, and that I'm not crazy and this is normal behavior. My boyfriend and I have known each other for multiple years, recently just became a thing. We've actually been together about 9 months I'd say, and he moved in last month. We figured it seems smart since he was staying over every night anyway. I'm now realizing this man does not stop jerking off. The first time I came home to the house being a mess, and in the bathroom all of the bottles were taken out of the tub and set on the ground on the bathroom floor. He acted really shady about it and told me I was making a big deal over nothing, and it took a while for him to tell me he masturbated all day. I forgave it, whatever. Well, this has become a consistent thing. I come home from working 12+ hour shifts at work, to the house being way dirtier than when I left it, to some sort of evidence that he did nothing but masturbate all day long. It didn't really bother me until he began denying sex with me. Which I've never had happen with any man. I'm just so confused, and I feel like I'm beginning to resent him, our relationship, all of it. I just don't know what to do anymore and if my feelings of resentment are actually valid. Whenever I mention anything to him he says I'm ridiculous, and make fun of him for jerking off. When really I just want to know why nothing can get done all day except a big stroke fest. Also, before anyone says anything, it is impossible he's cheating on me in my home. My parents live right next door, my mom's home all day, and can see who's in our driveway. He has an addiction. He needs proper treatment if he can't stop on his own. Why in the hell did he have to take everything out of the shower to jerk off? It makes me think of that thread from a month or two ago where the woman saw her partner finish in her shampoo. How is he so all consumed with rubbing it out that he destroys the house? I mean, recharge questions aside. The logistics confuse me. Not just confuse, baffle. I'd be a bit overwhelmed to come home to a mess after a 12+ shift anyway, let alone a mess from my boyfriend in a hand marathon frenzy. He does nothing useful or beneficial for the entire day and then tells you that you are wrong for bringing it up. Nope. Resentment totally valid. For all the reasons. How does one jerk off all day? If it's affecting your relationship then it isn't ridiculous. You need to let him know you aren't sexually satisfied in the relationship anymore and that you feel like he isn't pulling his weight. It sounds like he has masturbation addiction. Ask him to get help, and if he doesn't, then leave if you're still not happy. I'm sorry you're in this shitty position. There was a NFL player named Kellen Winslow who was convicted of multiple rapes and sexual assaults of women of all ages. We're talking ages 19 to 77. His former teammates said no one liked to room with him for road games because he would openly masturbate for hours. I bring this up to point out that your situation is not your fault in the least. Your boyfriend has a sexual compulsion. He won't get better without help, and unfortunately, it sounds like he doesn't want that help right now. It's only going to get worse. Get out of this relationship. Does he abuse speed? That's a bit ridiculous. I'd just leave honestly. Does he not have a job? And your parents are next door. That is disgusting. Something similar happened to a friend of mine. Let's just say, he was not worth keeping. Dude said mean things to her, guilt trip her for not making him pleasured enough, that's why he had to turn to masturbation and porn. She told me he would deny her sex. After months of exhausted arguments, she finally left. I'm sorry, but I agree with everyone saying he's an addict. I've only heard of sex addicts, but apparently, there are addicts of this kind too. He needs serious help. I don't know if he'll even listen to you, but he needs therapy immediately. Your feelings are valid. I would also resent anyone who did that. No normal human acts like that. Please, tell him to seek help. Even if he wasn't denying you sex, this is absurdly abnormal. He's as much an addict as an alcoholic or druggie. Good Lord, get rid. For so many reasons. This is not a story for the fucking grandkids' time to get the heck out. I don't understand about the bottles. This whole thread. I mean, maybe it's the way you presented it, maybe it's how ridiculous he acts, maybe it's the bottle's displacement, or maybe it's the mushrooms, but I cannot for the love of God stop laughing my ass off. This man just won't stop jerking off. Is he on drugs? He has a problem. Only time I've heard of this happening is with meth heads. No reason to be confused. Living together is a test run to see if you're compatible for the next step, and it looks like you're not. Feel free to end it. It honestly sounds like he might also have a meth addiction. It's not normal or even really possible to be that scatterbrained and messy while also masturbating literally all day long without being on meth LMAO. That behavior is too weird to put up with in my opinion. And if he's going to ignore the problem and not consider your feelings, you really don't have much of a relationship, so maybe it's time to cut him loose. Ew. Is it bad that I had a laugh about you locking him up in a chastity device? I am sorry op, you shouldn't have to deal with this. Does he work? Sounds like he needed a place to jack off, free of charge. Okay, I think it could be an addiction, but there's a difference between an addiction and a sex drive. As to why he denying you sex, you should ask him. Seek counseling if you want to try a different way of being transparent. Maybe there's something bothering him, maybe he feels you're not home enough, during times of horniness, maybe. Just talk to him. Let him know how this is affecting you. If you're wanting to have sex, I suggest you let him know, and if he keeps denying, is he using porn? Counseling does help. Even though it's frustrating, try not to use your resentment against him, there's a good chance it will hurt you both. I'm impressed that anyone can masturbate this much, but I'm not impressed with his boyfriend's skills. You've got multiple issues here. Honestly, I wouldn't even bring his obsessive jerking it into the picture. Your issues are 1, he doesn't do shit around the house and actually makes it messier, and 2, he's denying you sex. So look at your partnership from that perspective. He's a terrible roommate and he doesn't seem like much of a boyfriend. It might mean that he needs to move out if he refuses to do chores and have sex. Perhaps that could salvage your relationship, or at least help you see what baseline behaviors you require in a live-in boyfriend. Yay, I told mine that too long did not read. I'm not doing a dead bedroom, and he can cut it out and keep me in the vitamin D, or it really wouldn't work between us. That is a hard boundary from me. I need the physical aspect and emotional, it goes both ways. A relationship with me will not work without both these things being in spec. Kick him out for starters. He can get therapy without being a wet blanket on you while he deals with the addiction, but it seems like he doesn't want to admit he does have a problem. You don't have the time to deal with this nonsense, and it seems you don't even want to. There could be perhaps 2 separate but related issues. 1, he is not contributing to your household, cleaning, chores, etc., and 2, he is playing with himself a lot. Could you perhaps work on the household contribution issue first? It is less sensitive and awkward to discuss and leaves more room to negotiate. As in, hey, clean up and then do what you want to do. If you remove the resentment over chores, it may be easier to restore sexual chemistry too. Did he live alone or with roommates, his parents, prior to y'all moving in together? I'm not saying it's okay what he's doing, but I can see how if before he was always around people and lacked alone time, that now that he's got privacy all day he's able to indulge and now can't stop. NoFap. Someone's having a hard time with No Nut November. I feel like jerking off all day would keep the house in the same state. Honestly, it's one of the cheapest, easiest actives to do alone to pass the time. He need to join NoFap. It's possible he feels shame about what he watches and believes he needs porn to function normally, and therefore thinks he can't give you a normal sex life. I mean, that depends on what he watches. He might think his proclivities are all he is. Now what he is doing sounds a little like gaslighting to me, and he needs to sit down and talk like an adult. If he does, I can only imagine him getting therapy and the problem being understood. Have you suggested therapy? Not ridiculous, he is. LMAO. What a weirdo. The earlier someone was sexualized, the more compulsive their sexual behavior will typically be. He might be struggling with the fallout of childhood abuse. Either talk to him or break up. IDK much about relationships, but a guy doing shit knows what and making a mess out of your house while you come home from a 12+ hour shift doesn't seem very healthy to me. Where there's smoke there's fire, and where there's weirdness there's dysfunction. And there's a lot of weirdness going on with this whole scene. The guy's a fucking weirdo. Dump him. So he wants to jerk off but does not want to have S3X. Well, that is pretty weird. Also, I do not know why jerking off implies destroying everything. It seems like a full-blown addiction to me, and I think he needs some treatment. He can deny you sexual intimacy, but that's not something you need to accept, and definitely not if he gets it elsewhere, even if it's not with another person. Your post history is interesting. Any type of compulsive behavior is a problem. He needs professional help, whether you stay with him or not. For your own sanity, probably best to move on. Giving the old snake a petting is normal. Making a day of it, not so much. Messing up the house because of it? Downright weird and shady. Put up a couple of spy cams. You can get some relatively inexpensive ones that plug into electric outlets and look like chargers or spy clock cam. You're gonna see and hear some stuff that makes you silently sneak out in the middle of the night without looking back, and thank heavens you got away. Time to GTF out. He needs a psych eval. Something ain't right with that dude. It's not you. Get out now. Don't look back. You will never have a decent sex life with him. You can't fix this. It's not you. WTF is this post LMAO, yeah man kill him. He's breaking the NNN code of law. I would tell him if he can't get a cap on it maybe moving in was too big of a step and you need to reevaluate. You're dealing with a sex addict. He needs help. Also, it sounds like he's a bum. Why are you letting a guy that does nothing live with you? I was with someone who had an issue somewhat similar to this. Trust me when I say it doesn't get better, I would leave. Well, I totally agree with you. I think you are not overreacting. It's okay for him to jerk off, but when he starts to deny sex, is a problem. 'Cause you end up losing your intimacy. Sex is part of the relationship, partnership is also. You work and he stays home just grabbing his dick. No cleaning. It just feels wrong in my opinion. The worst part is that he doesn't listen to you and call you names, not taking responsibilities for his actions, and not making a single step further to change for a better relationship. This is very annoying, and if he keeps like that, you just can't do much. People won't change for you. He doesn't even listen to you, so he won't recognize he needs to change. Well, now it depends of how long you can take in this situation.